Closing costs. Sometimes these words really scare people and nobody really fully understands when you're buying a home exactly what it entails. So I'm going to break it down for you extremely simple. So the first thing you need to know is anytime you buy a home, closing costs basically include any costs that are going to be involved in the purchase of that home. Now the first item of costs are anything that's charged by the lender. Now these can range from things from your underwriting fee to a processing fee to a credit report fee. And those fees typically should be at least the very least expensive item in buying a home. Now I know with our office here at Modern Lending, we have no upfront lender fees at all. We do not charge any type of other application fees or anything else like that. So you're typically limiting your actual cost to just the true origination of the loan, which would just be your underwriting fee itself. Now, the second most important thing to always understand is what are your third-party fees? Now, third-party fees are anything that is charged in the actual purchase transaction that are charged outside of the actual lending institution. These are things like your title fees, your escrow fees, your county fees, all of these types of items. And the most important thing to know is these fees are not determined by what financing institution you use. They're actually selected by the seller of the transaction, and these items in most cases are split 50-50 between the buyer and the seller. And just like when you go and you buy a car at a car dealership, let's say you go to Paradise Chevrolet in Temecula and you go ahead and you buy a Chevy Silverado, or if you go to, let's say, Hemet Chevrolet and you buy a Chevy Silverado. When you go to register that vehicle at the DMV, you know what? The DMVs are the exact same no matter where you buy that truck. And that's exactly the way you need to be able to be viewing what your third-party fees are with your title and escrow company, because no matter who you use for your financing, these fees are not determined by the lender, they're determined by the seller, and so they will be the exact same no matter where you go. Now, typically title and escrow fees are anywhere between about 0.5% and 1% of the purchase price to each side. So on a $300,000 house, about $3,000 to the buy side, $3,000 to the sell side. Now, the last item that's involved in the total closing cost picture are better yet described as what's called your prepaids. Now these aren't fees, these are going to be reoccurring costs of owning the home. These include things like your first month's mortgage payment that's collected at closing, a certain number of months of property taxes collected at closing, and your homeowner's insurance collected at closing. Now, your property taxes are what they are, meaning the property taxes are set by the county and they're specific to that property itself. Depending on the time of the year you buy, there could be as little as only maybe 1 or 2 months collected, whereas if you buy during the property tax season between November and April, there's typically about 6 months of property taxes being collected at closing. Then your homeowner's insurance, you get a pick. Just like your car insurance, you get to pick your homeowner's insurance provider, and that's an annual policy paid at closing for the year. And then lastly is your first month's mortgage payment. Now, say you're going to close at the very end of March, what's going to happen is they're going to collect the mortgage payment so that your first payment on your own won't be due all the way until May. So all those 3 categories together make up your closing costs. So hopefully that gave you guys a little bit more information so it's not hidden behind smoke and mirrors anymore.